let's talk about the top 10 reasons people quit martial arts. So, number 10 reason is money. Martial arts can be pretty expensive. You have the monthly fee often to attend the dojo, and in the US that will typically range from $100 all the way up. That can be $200, or it really depends on the region where you're training. But that can be a pretty big monthly expense for people, and if they run into financial difficulties, martial arts may be one of the first things they have to cut out. In addition to the monthly training fee, there's often a lot of other stuff you need to pay for too. So you can have maybe a yearly fee to kind of the parent organization. You can have other costs like gis and padding and other equipment. And some of that you need to keep buying. Like you may need to keep buying hand wraps, you need to keep buying gis every now and then as things wear out. And so, yeah, all of that can add up really quickly. Now, sometimes dojos will work with you if you kind of have a temporary kind of financial setback. Some dojos will work with you and maybe discount your fees for a little while you get through that because they'd rather see you train, or maybe even waive your fees for a little while. It really depends on the dojo, though. It's more likely, I think, you'd see something like that from nonprofits or mom and pop type places rather than McDojos or, kind of commercial endeavors. So it's still worth asking, though, because that's such an unfortunate reason for somebody to stop training if they're still committed to the art and they really want to advance. But finances don't allow them to. But yeah, talk to your dojo if you're ever in that situation. You never know. Number 9 reason is someone moves away. So you can't really do much about that. Now, they could move to another state, another country, so that's definitely not feasible to train in that case. Or they could simply just move a little too far away. If they move so that before they had like a 15-minute commute to the dojo, they move somewhere and now it's an hour or 2 hours. That might be kind of long for them to do that, and so they might look for somewhere closer to them to train. Number 8 reason people drop out is some kind of injury. So the injury could be from training or it could be from something else. So if it's from training and it's chronic injury, that's something, you want to see in the dojo. Why is this happening? See if there's some kind of problem with an individual or just with the dojo culture to cause that injury, especially if it's recurring. But somebody could just get injured in plenty of other things. They could be mountain biking and fall off the bike, or they could get in a car accident and then have a bad back after that. And sometimes those injuries will put somebody out of commission in their martial arts training as well. So that happens. Number 7 reason is a schedule change. So sometimes people's jobs change around. So maybe they were going to a morning class and then suddenly their schedule changes and they're no longer able to go. So like their work makes them come in an hour earlier and they can't go anymore. It can be as simple as that. And maybe they can't find a class at your dojo that fits into their schedule anymore. It's too bad, but life happens like that. Things shift around, and sometimes they shift around so that somebody can no longer train. Now, number 6 reason is kind of related. So the number 6 reason is time commitments. So time commitments from work could be one. So maybe it's a busy time of year, like someone's really seasonal, for example, with their job, and it's their peak season, so they don't have time to train anymore. You could also just have increasing time commitments, demand for your time from your family. So maybe you have small kids at home, and they have a lot of other things. They need you. Kids can take a lot of time, and maybe you have an aging parent or a family member that you need to kind of take care of. Those are common things that happen, and it just makes it so you can't come to the dojo anymore. I definitely know people at my dojo where that's been the case. Either their job has demanded more time of them or their family has, and I don't know, maybe some of them will come back eventually. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say. Now, another number 5 is well, a lot of these are unfortunate reasons. Some of them are necessary, but number 5 is someone may leave because of conflict with others, or just even one other person. So there could be just one person at the dojo that clashes with the person that leaves, and that's all it takes. Because if somebody is not feeling comfortable in their training environment, they're going to be like, maybe I like training, but I just can't stand this person, and they'll leave. So that'll happen. It could be just another student, it could be a teacher, it could be the chief instructor, it could be just about anybody, or it could be multiple people. So it's too bad when that happens, but the more people you have in one place, the more possibility you have for clashing personalities. So it's something, as a dojo, you want to make sure that this isn't a common occurrence. The people being kind of chased away by personalities, but at the same time, you're always going to have some kind of conflict between people, so I don't know how you could fully fix this situation. And it likely is combined with other things too. If somebody is really into the art and training, they would maybe, try to make it work somehow, or, show up at times that the other person's not there or whatever. There's usually something you can do to work around it, but sometimes people get frustrated. Number 4 reason people drop out is perceived unfair treatment. So that could be maybe they feel like they're being singled out in a negative way too much. It could also mean that they feel like another person or other people are getting a lot of extra attention that they aren't. So, because sometimes you'll see instructors go over and mentor some students, or give them just that little bit of extra attention, and if you're someone that's not getting that, that might, that perceived unfairness may build up, and it just might make you feel a bit disillusioned with the dojo. So yeah, the problem is sometimes the perceived unfair treatment could be true, and sometimes the perceived unfair treatment could be just someone's perception of things, and it's very hard to kind of draw the line there, but nevertheless, sometimes people drop out because of that. Number 3 reason people drop out is they're bored and they lack commitment. So I think there are kind of 2 main levels when people get bored. I think it's at the very beginning when they realize that martial arts, it's just so granular, and it is harder, frankly, than they're maybe expecting. If somebody joins martial arts based on watching movies and TV, it looks like some people can train in martial arts for like a week and then be a master. The most extreme example of this is probably in The Matrix, when Keanu Reeves' character Neo, he literally downloads kung fu into his brain, and so he is instantly able to do all of this kung fu, his character. And in reality is so far from that. It takes you years and years and years to kind of hone your skill in any martial art. And so if someone's brand new starting out and they're in their first week or first month, they might kind of see how long a road they're truly on if they want to kind of look like somebody on the movie screen. And so that may make them bored. Another time that people will often become bored is when they're kind of a little higher level. So maybe brown belt or black belt level. They start to feel like they're no longer progressing. They feel like they've plateaued, even though they don't see the large changes that they did earlier in their training. It's because the higher up you go in martial arts training, the smaller details you're trying to fix. And so that can make it feel like you're moving at a snail's pace, but you're still improving every day. Every hour that you train, you're going to be improving. It's just harder to see the higher you go. Now, number 2 reason people drop out is they fall out of the routine. So I made another video talking about routine in martial arts, kind of having a few designated days in the week that you go and trying to stick with that as much as you can. Now, occasionally, won't be able to do that because of different holidays or special occasions, but If you make a habit of not going to the dojo, well, then you won't go to the dojo. So you can have a routine of going to 2 classes a week, but if you start making excuses, like, oh, I can't make Tuesday because I'm too tired and blah, blah, blah. If your excuses become kind of thin like that, then you just fall out of training altogether. Now, you could have valid excuses. I mean, maybe you have other time commitments, and maybe, who knows? There's just a lot of reasons this could happen, but simply you could fall out of the routine. So if you feel that happening to you, try to at least keep one day. I mean, that's kind of hanging on by your fingertips, I think, to train one day a week. But if you can even, get that in, that may help you kind of pass this point and continue your training. And the number one reason people quit martial arts is, well, it's not what they're expecting, and it's harder than they think. So this is kind of similar to the part about people getting bored, but especially if you're starting a martial art you maybe don't know that much about, you don't know what you're in for. Most people are sort of familiar with like karate or taekwondo, but if you start something else that's a little different, like judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or aikido, maybe you don't really know what you're in for with like the moves and the style of the class. And so you show up to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class, and then you're like wrestling, and maybe you're uncomfortable being in that position with other people, or who knows what, or just different drills you have to do all the time might be kind of tricky, especially when you're first starting, and you might just say, this is not the martial art for me, and just drop out of it. But the other thing is, all martial arts are very, very difficult, and they take so much time, and it can feel like you're not progressing for a while, but you are. So it just might not be what somebody was expecting when they signed up, when they joined the dojo, and so they think, maybe I'd like to spend my time doing something else that's a little easier, which that's totally fair. Then maybe martial arts is not a good fit for that person. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is the top 10 reasons people quit martial arts, and feel free to add additional reasons below. There's certainly more than 10 reasons out there. These are just 10 of the biggest reasons that I could think of.